Okay, I've been working on this game for a little bit now, so I thought I'd stream some of the stuff that I'm working on. This is it here in the upper right-hand corner. Right now it's just got this little guy that runs back and forth, and we have this little menu button that comes up. And what we're going to be working on now is I want this top bar to have some text in there, so it says what kind of menu it is. So we're going to make that. So how I'm going to start this is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to make a new class down here in my UI, and I'm just going to call it text. Put it over here. And I'm going to start giving it some things that I think it's going to need. It's going to need a string that's going to be the actual message, right? The content of the text. It's going to need a point that is going to be its position. What else is it going to need? We're probably going to want to be able to anchor it somewhere. So I'm going to give this an enum that has an anchor. Well, let's do alignment. So we'll say alignment, and we'll say this is going to be left, center, or right. And then we'll do one for vertical as well. And that will be top, middle, or bottom. And then we're going to want to store those. So private alignment and private, change the name of that. Vertical alignment. Okay. I've already got a class or an interface that everything has that actually gets drawn to the screen. So I'm going to say this implements the drawable interface, and that's going to ask us to implement the draw method. Let's move that down here under this stuff. What else are we going to need? Let's give it a constructor. Position. Let's just do that for now, and let's see what the default is. So I'm going to say that message is message, and position is position. And then down here, we're going to ask the canvas to draw text for us, and it wants the message. It wants the position.x, position.y, and the paint that we passed in. Okay, so why don't we just use that to start with, and then we can come into the inventory, which is the class that holds the information about that menu, and we can give it a text. So I'm going to say private text, and I'm going to call this the header. Nope, let's call this the header text. So I already have something else called the header. And then here, let's do this in the, for now we'll just do it in the constructor. just because we're testing this out now. But I'm going to leave it to do in here to tell us that we're going to want to do this somewhere else. Space info in instead of hard coding. Okay. So for now, we will say that we're going to calculate the x and y. So this has a frame. The whole thing has a frame, and then part of that frame is the header. So I'm going to get the center of the frame in x and the center of the header so that it can be centered in that little box. So I'm going to say int x equals background.getFrame dot center x, and that's going to take the frame that we have and find the middle of it, and then int y is going to be background.getFrame.top plus half of the header height. So we want to do header height divided by 2. So it scoots it down there. So now we can say header text equals new text, and the message, I'm just going to say it's inventory, and new point xy. Okay, so now when we're drawing our menu, the last thing we want to do is, well, only if it's shown, we want to draw that text. So I'm going to say header text.draw canvas paint delta time. Okay. We got an error here. Let's see what it says. Expected, oh, there we go. Too many of those. Okay, so it's pushing on the phone, built successfully. Installing the APK. And it's not there. I think that's because I have the text color set to white somewhere else. So let's do this. Paint.get. Is there a text color? Not get font color. How do we set the color? Do we just set the color? Here, let's see what we do in the renderer. Here. This canvas changed. This is render game world. So here I'm drawing something about food. Oh yeah, and see the text is white there. We can see it up on the center of the screen. So let's change that not to white. So here we will store the old color. And then we will set the new color. Let's just do it black now. Set color black, and then before we return, we will restore the old one. So we will say paint.set color old color. Okay, so now it should draw in black. So let's see what it does. Hey, there we go. So interestingly, it looks centered already. Oh, you know why? Draw text. No? Did I set that somewhere? I do. Here we go. I set it here. Alright, so let's move those into our text class because we're going to need those. So we might not actually have to... No, we won't have to store them because we're going to have to set them and reset them. Okay, so I'm going to add here setter methods for the alignment and vertical alignment. So public void set alignment, and we're going to pass in an alignment, and our alignment is just going to be that alignment. And we'll do the same thing for the vertical alignment. And then we'll store that. And then down here, so we're going to save off the old color and set the new color. Let's save off the old alignment. And let's see what that wants. It wants... There's already an align... thing in Paint. It's okay. So we're going to have an align, old alignment, get text align, import that, and then we will say switch alignment case left paint dot set text align new dot left break, and then we'll do that same thing for center and right. Okay, and then down here at the end, we will reset the text alignment. Right, and now font size is not something we've set yet. So let's just leave it how it is for now, because that's going to be a little bit more complicated. So let's go ahead and say header text dot set alignment dot center, even though that's what we had before, and make sure, let's just make sure that's working. Okay, so that's working. Now let's change this alignment to left, just to make sure that it actually changes when we expect it to. Cool, and it does. Okay, so now it looks to me like what the vertical alignment is set to is the bottom. It's hard to tell if it's the bottom of the Y or the bottom of the letters. I think it's the bottom of the Y, it looks like, is centered vertically. So let's do something about that. So we can use the paint to calculate the text size. So let's see here. We should be able to do that here. Does it calculate text size? No. Some sort of measure text. There we go. Okay. So here we're just going to measure text, and we're going to give it our message, and it's going to tell us some information. What does this return? This wants to return a float. What's the float? It returns the width of the text. That's not super helpful for us. When we set the text size, what do we actually, are we actually setting? This is the text size in pixel units. So I'm guessing that's the height of the letters. So can we use that instead? Why don't we do this? Let's measure the text, and this is going to give us a width. Float width. And then let's get what we're thinking is the height. Get text size. And let's just draw a box and see what that looks like. So we're going to draw a rect. The left is going to be position.x. The top is going to be position.y. The right is going to be position.x plus the width that we just calculated, and the bottom is going to be position.y plus the height that we just got. As ints. What are you complaining about now? Oh, it actually wanted floats, but it wants a paint. Okay. So now we should draw a box around the text. So let's move this here. Gonna make the text black. I'm gonna make the box red. Okay, so it looks like the position is the sort of like baseline, not accounting for descenders. So in order to get the box behind it, we would have to move it up. So let's move it up the height of the text. So let's say this is position Y. So if we move it up the height of the text, let's see what happens. Let's see if the descender for the Y is still there. You know what? It would have not. We should have gotten rid of this height, because then we just doubled the height of the thing. So what that tells me is that the descender for the Y is not included in the text height, but the ascender for the capital I is. So what we need to do is, if we want to center it, we can take that height and subtract half, add half of it to the position we're given, so it will move down halfway. Okay, so I'm going to leave that box there, and I'm going to change the position of the text here. So I'm going to say, does this one ints or floats? This one's floats. So I'm going to say float x. Well, x we don't need to change really if we're doing vertical. Yep. Right. So I'm going to say float y equals position.y. We're going to switch on vertical alignment, and if it is top, then we're going to say y is actually position.y plus height. And if it's middle, we're going to say y equals position.y plus height over 2. And then if it's bottom, that's the default state. So here, we're going to use this Y. And we've not set the vertical alignment anywhere. So let's set it here. Set vertical alignment. I'm going to say middle. So what we should see is we should see the word inventory hanging halfway out of the bottom of the box, because the box represents exactly where the point should be. More than halfway. Okay. Let's do this. Let's put, instead of drawing a rect like we've been doing, let's put a dot where we expect the text to end up. So I'm going to draw, come on, I'll draw a circle at position X, position Y, and then it wants a radius and a paint. For the radius, I'm just going to give it like 5 pixels. That seems big. It's 3 pixels. Let's see what happens there. This is a little hard to see, that little red dot, but it looks like the text is moved down farther than I would have anticipated. Like, it doesn't seem like that's halfway. Okay, well, let's make the text a little larger. So let's set a text size here. I know that the menu bar on a bigger screen is 150 pixels. So let's see what let's see what it's set to now. So we have text size is 12. Let me just set it to 12 here. So why don't we just set it to like 20 and see what that does. Right now we're just hard coding values and playing with it, but we'll set a way to actually set that for good later. It wants a float text size, and we'll say that it's going to be 20. Here again, we'll save off the old text size, and we'll want to do that before we measure it. So float old text size equals paint.get text size, and then paint.set text size. And we'll set it to our text size, and then here at the end we'll reset the thing that we changed. Size, old text size. Okay. So now we have a bigger text. Let's see what we're doing here. So we are drawing our circle right at X and Y. And we're making it a radius of 3. And then for our alignment, we thought that by default it's going to be the bottom. So we set it to that. And if it's the top, then we want to move the text down by its height. And if it's the middle, we want to move it down by half its height, which seems reasonable. That is not what I expected. So setting the text size to 20 has made it tiny. Set text size. Do I set that anywhere else? Oh, I modify it by the DPI value. So what I see here is I've taken the text size that I want. Where is this? This isn't canvas changed. And I actually get the density of the display, because different phones have different display resolutions. So I modify the font size by that DPI value. And I set that in the screen config. So why don't we just set that then? So, because we can do that outside here, right? We're creating the, we're doing it here. All right, so let's move the hard coding of this header let's do this here. Okay, so I'm going to create a text, and it's going to be a header, and it's going to be a new text. The text is going to be inventory. And I have the same information here. Menu. So I can just, actually, let's just move all of this out here. Let's move all of this out here. So we don't want background. What we want is menu background. And then this menu height is the actual header height. So this is going to be text. And then here, let's actually set the text size. Header text set text size. And we're going to hard code this to 20 times DPI. Okay, so now in the text class, instead of hard coding this, we're going to have a setter. Okay. So now here, we're going to save out the old text size, set it to the new text size, And now it should really work because we're setting it to 20 pixels times the density of the display. So that should scale appropriately based on the screen that we're using. So what we're doing now is I'm just trying to build this text class. And I'm hard coding stuff outside of the text class. Eventually that will probably come from like a configuration file or something. Ooh, it crashes. Draw on null object reference. Inventory.draw, because I'm not setting that anymore. Yep. Okay. So I forgot to actually set the header on the inventory. I'm going to say set header text. And then here I need to have a setter for that. Okay. So anyway, so what I was saying is we're hard coding this stuff outside of the class so that we can make sure that the class works. And then once we make sure the text class works, then we can figure out where's the right place to do that initialization and set those values and stuff. Okay. Hey, much bigger. It is still not terribly centered. All right. So I'm going to return the horizontal alignment to be center. And let's try to figure out why the vertical alignment is not centered. So I'm saying that the position should be, I'm getting the frame of the menu background, and I'm getting the top of that frame. And then I'm taking the menu height, which is that header bar. It's a bad name, but that's what the header bar is. Divided by 2, so I'm taking half of that height. And I'm putting that dot in the center. So that little tiny red dot looks exactly right. So there's something about the height of the text that it doesn't like. If I set this from middle to bottom, then it should line up correctly. So that should be at the bottom of the letters, not accounting for the descenders. Yep. So see, the red dot is right there at the bottom of the N. Okay, so let's see what it gives us for the height of the text. Position Y, height. We're getting height. We're just getting it from the text size, but we know the text size, right? We've set it here. So we don't actually need either one of these because we're storing the text size. Let's see what it does when we set it to top. Does it actually go the whole way down? Or does it go past the edge of the text? Position X. Here we're setting Y. We're setting break. But that's at the end of the switch, so it shouldn't actually affect anything. No, it goes well below. Interesting. So there's a text scale. So let's see what that is. So say float scale equals paint.set or get text scale. Ooh, there's also font metrics. Let's do both. So let's get the text scale, and then I'm going to get a font metrics. And then let's put a breakpoint here and debug it and see what we get with those. Debugging takes a little bit longer to install. Okay. All right. So now our scale is 1, which is good. And for our metrics, we have, ooh, that's cool. So it actually shows us the ascent, the descent, the bottom, the leading, and the top. Interesting. So when I think of top, maybe ascent is what I think of. What's our text size? Text size is 60. Yeah, 63. Okay, negative 63. If I want to align to the bottom, 16 seems strange. Descent is 14. So I'm moving at 30 when maybe I should be moving at half of 55. So let's try that. Cancel. So let's say that instead of moving it by the text size, I'm going to move it by metrics dot. If I want the top ascent, and this was, I think these needs to be negative because those were negative numbers. Metrics dot ascent divided by 2. Let's see what that does. Okay. So that's pretty close to lining up with the eye. I'm happy with that. So now what if we do here, middle, and run that. It's lining up the top of the N. Let's say, I think there's a top, yeah, top divided by 2. Because I want to move it up by that amount. Yeah, I want to move it up by that amount. Didn't really change. Okay, let's try debugging that again. Okay, so metrics, top, yeah, 63. So, I mean, it looks okay, I think. It looks okay. Okay. So we're going to say that's okay. So now let's clean this up a little bit. We're going to keep the old paint color. First thing we're going to do, we're going to set the new paint color to black. We should probably make that a setting. We're going to get rid of this red circle. We're going to put the new size. We're going to get rid of the scale. We calculate this and then reset all of the stuff that we've done after we draw it. Okay, the other thing is if we don't set a special size on this, then we should just use the old text size. So here I'm going to say if the old text size, or if the new text size is 0, then we're going to use the old text size. Otherwise we'll use the text size that we have in here. So that way, if you don't set a text size on this text object, it'll just use whatever the default is for the paint that gets passed in. What else? That should be okay. That should be okay. Okay, so I think that's usable for now. So we're going to go ahead and stomp there. Thanks.